It is difficult for us to imagine a world without printed matter. We find evidence of print everywhere around us, in books, journals, newspapers, prints of famous paintings, and also in everyday things like theatre programs, official circulars, calendars, diaries, advertisements, cinema posters at street corners. We read printed literature, see printed images, follow the news through newspapers, and track public debates that appear in print. We take for granted this world of print and often forget that there was a time before print. We may not realize that print itself has a history which has in fact shaped our contemporary world. What is this history? When did print literature begin to circulate? How has it helped to create the modern world? In this chapter, we will look at the development of print from its beginning in the East Asia to its expansion in Europe and in India. We will understand the impact of spread of technology and consider how social lives and cultures changed with the coming of print culture and the modern world. So here's an interesting fact. The birth of print can be traced back to China, Japan, and Korea. Well, it actually started way back in 594 AD with hand printing. They had this technique where books were printed by rubbing paper against the ink surface of a carved wood block. And what's more interesting, that these wood blocks too were invented there. But the papers were really thin, so both the sides could not be printed. But they found a solution for this too. They created something that they called the accordion books, which were folded and stitched on the side. Well, China had superbly skilled craftsmen who could duplicate the beauty of calligraphy, which is an art of beautiful and formal writing with remarkable accuracy. In some ways, China was a major producer of printed material. But why is that so? This was because the country had a bureaucratic system where men were recruited through a bunch of civil service examinations. And what is the basic requirement to study for exams? Books, right? Unless, of course, you have some cool videos like this one. And so, China began printing these textbooks in bulk for these exams. In fact, the imperial state of China sponsored it. But during the 16th century, there were so many candidates for these examinations that printing had to be increased. So with the lightning speed that China was going, it was obvious that by the 17th century, it had become quite the printing expert. Now let's move out of Asia and understand the history of print in Europe. Do you know how print came about in Europe? It came through the Silk Route. This route formed the famous trade link between Asia and Europe. It was actually used to transport silk and spices. But in the 11th century, Chinese paper too arrived in Europe via the same route. But how did this happen? This happened because of Marco Polo. Have you heard of this name before? Okay, so now Marco Polo was a great explorer from Italy. After exploring China for many years, Marco Polo returned to Italy in the year 1295. But he did not come alone. He brought the knowledge of woodblock printing along with him. Smart, right? So just like the Chinese and the Japanese, the Italians too began producing books with wood blocks. And soon this technology spread to other parts of Europe too. The book manufacturing industry boomed. And in the second half of the 15th century, 20 million copies of printed books flooded the European markets. By the end of the 15th century, this number reached and touched 200 million. And it was this shift from hand printing to mechanical printing that led to the print revolution. That is quite a journey for the print industry, I must admit, be the Asian or the European continent. Now next in the video, we will discuss the print revolution and its impact on people.
Tutormate. For more amazing video lectures, download the free app on Apple App Store or Google Play Store